Right. If you are starting from here, skip forwards like a minute or so. You know the drill. You know the drill. Just gonna share this and get everything all lined up to record. Good win, no, another win. So that will be generally the theme of today. Mickey Bobbins wants a coffee. Just get one. You know the begin Mickey, mate, you know the beginning is only ever like just incomprehensible muck, isn't it? Go and get a coffee. Go on, you'll be all right. All right. Shall I go? I see a lot of people at this bit, people who are better prepared than me. They have like a little graphic set up that does a countdown and everything, but I haven't worked out how to do that yet. I haven't really given it any thought, but I'll probably set something like that up. Thank you. Thank you, Jamie. Jim. All right, here we go. Let's do it. Let's go. Come on, you Spurs! Another 3 points. I wasn't. I was going into this game. I really wasn't sure what to expect because I didn't think we could take much from the Newcastle game. We were very good, but Newcastle knackered, loads of injury problems. Spurs have been in such horrible form before that. I mean, saying that, Forest have been in stinking form all season. But I wasn't 100% what was going to happen in this game. And 3 points, obviously amazing, but blimey, what a disgusting game of football that was. We've got. I found out before this game, we've got a terrible record in Friday night fixtures. Um, I think we've lost most of the ones we've ever been in the Friday night games. So it's good to win that. I don't know what it is with us in Friday night fixtures, if there's anything to that, or if it's just how it's worked out so far. But that was an ugly, ugly match. Seriously ugly. They seem to be up for it. The tricky trees. I mean, come on. Fan base, it's Friday night, isn't it? People have been in the pub after work for a bit, getting close to Christmas. You can imagine it. People be well up for it. I'm very happy we beat them. I'm very happy we beat them. I've always had right. Here's a I say interesting. It's not very interesting at all. I always used to have back in the day when I used to play. I don't play Football Manager anymore, but back in the day when I used to play like Championship Manager, Football Manager, because I didn't fancy always playing as Spurs at every single iteration. I would often play as somebody like Nottingham Forest, and I would sort of set it as my thing to make Forest really good again. It may come as a surprise to anybody that was watching that game who wasn't familiar with Forest's past exploits, hearing them sing "Champions of Europe." You'll never sing that. They won. Did they win two in a row? I think they won two consecutive Champions Leagues under Brian Clough. And I don't know. Is there any other? I was about to say Brian Cough. Brian Clough. Is there any club in Europe that was as big as Forest who are now as small? Has anyone had as big a fall from grace? I think somebody like IFK Gothenburg have won the Champions League. Have they won the Champions League or did they win the UEFA Cup? And IFK, I mean, they probably don't benefit from the fact that they're in the Swedish league, all due respect. So again, I don't know if that's as clean a comparison. Ajax have won what 2, 3 Champions Leagues. I mean, really, they're still a decent side, and I think modern football has kind of ravaged their place in the pyramid. So I think, like, relatively speaking, I think Forest must be the biggest fall from grace, right? I don't know. I don't know. Uh, that 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 game was very ugly. That game was very ugly. It wasn't pleasant to watch. It was uncomfortable. I think both of our games, both of our goals came slightly against the run of play, and I feel uncomfortable saying against the run of play because I don't feel that Forest dominated possession. They were much more physical. They pressed us very well, but they didn't really carve out that many meaningful chances. All of their all of their play lacked little intent, if you know what I mean. There wasn't much real method to what they were doing. They were just kicking us and kind of knocking the ball about and not really doing anything with it. I was slightly concerned by how little of a hold we managed to get on that game. At any point, really, did Spurs have any real dominance? Maybe in the very, very opening stages, we were knocking it about quite nicely, right? But other than that, it was just a bit of an ugly one. And, if I was to be, when I have my paranoia about Arsenal doing well, I would look at that game and say, well, they've still come away with that from a 2-0 win. And that's all that matters. That's a sign of a good team. So I guess that's the sort of logic we have to apply to ourselves, because, we haven't done particularly well in that, have we? And we've still come away with a 2-0 win. It was ugly. It was a horrible game. I was desperate for it to finish. I don't know why it took 15 minutes on VAR to decide that their goal was offside. It was so obviously, you could see in real time it was offside. It was miles offside. But yeah, horrible game. And that little Ryan Yates, is it? Horrible little weasel of a footballer. Nasty, nasty player. The officiating in the game was terrible. I know it's such a boring conversation that continues to be had. The officiating, the Premier League officiating, over and over and over again. But it was another example of it, and it feels like it really feels like we just don't seem to get anything after that Liverpool game. And maybe that's just tinfoil. Maybe that's some sort of confirmation bias. I don't know, but it definitely feels pretty off, doesn't it? Doesn't anyone else think it feels pretty off? Because that today was bonkers. I think they ended the game with 2 yellow cards, Forest, but they both came very late. And the fact that they, for most of the game, didn't get a single booking is, I don't know. It felt very dodgy, considering that what did we end up with? About four yellow cards and a red card or so. Dodgy game, ugly game. Just glad it's over. Glad we got the 3 points. Glad the game's over. Ryan Yates, I wouldn't want something really horrible to happen to him, but I wouldn't mind seeing him get kind of crunched in another game at some point by somebody else, because he was really, really irritating. Hacker in the comments says, I definitely wasn't expecting to watch rugby today. Yeah, I mean that's a good, good point to make, because it was ugly. It was ugly. Let's have a look. Tony Stark says, Jack, can I please ask that you do not do your usual skip propaganda today? The man played 60 minutes, made 1 tackle, went 2 for 6 on duels. Yeah, it wasn't a vintage Oliver Skip performance. I'll say that. But I thought that was a weird substitution, right? Brennan Johnson, I feel sorry for the lad. I feel sorry for him coming off. He got a nice little chorus of "He's one of our own." I think they were doing some playful pantomime booing of him at the start of the game, weren't they? But it's a shame we went off, and it felt a bit weird. It felt almost a bit negative to shift Kulusevski out to the right, which ended up giving us a goal, really, let's be honest, and putting Skip in the middle. I think some people have hinted to the physicality of the match. That probably wouldn't have suited Brian Hill very much, but it's not much of a vote of confidence in the lad, is it? Not much of a vote of confidence. Getting quite a few comments basically on the physicality of the game. Let's have a look. Just people saying trying to rough us up. That was Darren, by the way. Darren said another team trying to rough us up. Andrew Elliott says we were bullied today. Yeah, Hacker saying Yates, 6 fouls, 0 yellow cards, 0 cards at all. I mean, it's madness, isn't it? It's madness. And it is irritating and it is frustrating. And it's one of these times when doing the pod, it's like you do get conscious of, God, do I just sound like one of those blinkered fans saying our team don't get the decisions, the refs are all against us, blah, 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 blah. But watching that today, especially, I mean, that did feel dodgy. It did feel dodgy. I'm caught in this sort of loop at the moment going on about this. I need to move past it, don't I? We've also got Grant Echo Sonic says the Elanga scissor tackle. If that had been a Spurs player making that challenge, you would have heard Carragher squeak away. Yeah, him and Neville really love their don't they? Like they love doing that. They absolutely love doing that. And I actually found it quite funny at first. I found it almost endearing's not the right word, but I quite liked it. I just thought it was kind of like an amusing little trademarky thing. And it's quickly become really irritating, hasn't it? It's like they've sort of realized that they've become a bit of a meme for doing it, and now they overdo it. It felt a bit more organic at first when they first started doing that. And now they just kind of they force it a bit, don't they? Yeah, it's a weird one. It's a weird one. But 3 points, 3 points. Another look. This sort of crammed festive period. I know it's Nottingham Forest. I know we can talk about what their record has been like so far, but you can only beat what's in front of you, as people say. And it's another win for Spurs in a packed sort of. I mean, I say a packed festive schedule. It doesn't seem as bad as it does in previous years. I think, if anything, kind of that late November, early December period actually felt a bit worse. Don't know. Obviously, got Everton next Saturday. Nice bit of a break. Thursday, no Boxing Day fixture for us either. Brighton, and then Bournemouth, and then obviously Burnley in the cup. I mean, Brighton aren't quite as good as they were. We are injury ravaged still. We will have suspensions. We will have players away on international duty. I still like to think we could get 7 points at least. I actually think we could nick something at Brighton as well. We tend to do all right there. I mean, I'm sure somebody's going to point out we've only won one game in about 56 there, but I sort of feel like off the top of my head, we tend to do all right in Brighton. So, I don't know. I do feel like hopefully we've weathered a bit of a storm there. And look, we've still got that horrible April. But I think Spurs are. I don't know. Let's worry about that for another day. Right now, it's another good win. Newcastle, Forest away, Everton at home, Brighton away, Bournemouth at home. Those should be winnable games, right? Those should be. I mean, Brighton again. I don't want to do them too much of a disservice, but Brighton aren't quite Brighton of last year. They're not quite there. When everyone was saying De Zerbi's the best manager in world football after Pep Guardiola and everything. 26 points are on, eighth in the league, to be fair to them, but they're somewhat adrift, aren't they, of everybody else this year. I mean, Christ, Newcastle really aren't doing that well either, are they? It's a funny one. Bissouma. I mean, I don't know. Do we need to talk about the discipline in the team? Because the doggies picked up a suspension today for another yellow card. Bissouma with a red card that it was to me, I'm gonna be honest, I think Bissouma's was an orange card. So I'm not gonna really debate him getting a red because I think, yep, sometimes it's given, sometimes it's not. I personally feel it was high, right? It was high. If that was committed on a Spurs player, I would want that player hung, drawn, and quartered. Um, but it feels like he was pulling his foot out of it. He wasn't going in full force. He wasn't going in with a crunching leg breaking challenge there, right? The foot is high, yep, but you saw the way the sort of tip of his boot was flapping about. He wasn't going in there with any real force. It was a clumsy kind of reckless one. And yeah, I'm not, like I say, I'm not going to massively debate the red card because I think it was an orange. So I get it. Does Basuma need to work on his discipline? Potentially. I've said that of Romero. I've singled Romero out for that. Maybe Basuma does too. There's 2 red cards now. That's what? Close to, I mean, my maths is not very good, but it's a large chunk of the season that he's missing. Let's put it that way. I'm not going to work it out in percentages or anything because I quite simply can't. And this isn't another bit about Callum Wilson or anything like that. But I still would like to. I'm still quite interested to know how many goals Callum Wilson scored against us. So that was another goal for Richarlison today. Interesting. Don't know. Just saying. Just throwing it out there. So yeah, look, it's a red. It's a red card on many occasions. Yes, I do feel that yeah, I've seen people get away with those. You've seen them get away with those. Maybe not since VAR's come into play. To be fair, to be fair. Um, where we got Stu Muck. Jesus wept. Basuma was a star till Mick got crocked. Are people sheltered? Yeah, no, I'm not. I'm not saying Basuma's bad. I love Basuma. Like I've banged on about Basuma all season, mate. I think he's a fantastic player. I'm just saying today, he's well, it's 2 red cards he's had recently, and he's been picking up yellow cards all season. So you know, he's been sort of, I'm just talking about discipline. That's all. Maybe if he just needs, I don't know if it's about concentration or if that's just what happens playing in that part of the pitch. He did sort of. I don't think he was great today. But I do agree with your point. That he did have Van der Ven, but behind him previously, that sort of thrust Van der Ven adds to the team. But in saying that, Ben Davis, I think you're doing him a little bit dirty there. Like he's been really good since he's filled in. I think he's absolutely. I think he's been really decent. Stu Muck also says that I meant the fan reaction, not you. So that's all right. I mean, I didn't take it particularly badly, mate. So it's all right. It's all right. We haven't got any beef. Hacker says they need to improve their alertness. Maybe maybe play video games or drink coffee. I don't know. Bit of what those? Have you seen those big those panels where lights come on, sort of test goalkeepers references and stuff? References, reflexes. Jesus, like I mean, come on, it's 10:30. I'm getting on, mate. Like this is a late night for me nowadays. Yeah, I don't know. Udogie, young player, fine. Look, it's annoying to lose him again. Exceptional player, but he's so young. It's his first season in the Premier League. He'll work this stuff out. Like he'll work it out. Basuma, I don't know. I think I've been happy with him overall. His overall contribution this season so far. So let's have it. I mean, Steph Hanley says the issue with the discipline dash red cards is that they're so situationally needless. 2-0 up. Why is Basuma doing a little skip step knee high tackle? Why is he diving at Luton? Yeah, I mean that's the point, right? That's fair enough. That's kind of what I'm getting at when I say discipline. I think you've more eloquently encapsulated that feeling, that vibe, if you like. It's good. Um, we got to talk about that Vicario save as well. Unbelievable. What an unbelievable player. He had one flap right at the very start of the game, and Carragher was jumping all over it. Carragher was absolutely loving it. He was reveling in it. Oh, he's got away with one there. Oh, he's like, oh, he's had a good season so far, but oh, he was so lucky that. Shut up, mate. Come on, do me a favour. He's had one tiny little flap at ball that most goalkeepers do constantly. And that's pretty much, as was pointed out to me on Twitter, other than maybe the first half against Brentford, he's been pretty much impeccable this entire season. That's the first little kind of thing we've seen from him that has been less than exceptional. And that's fine. He's more than made up for it over the rest of the game, right? It's you know, it's brilliant. Phil Mayo says Murillo thing was the most bizarre. On a yellow, he's been talked to, foul cynically, then gets talked to again. Isn't the first yellow the warning? I'm not actually even entirely sure the incident that you're referring to, mate. But given the general sort of reffing in the game, yeah, I'm not. I'll take your word for it because it was a weird one. Friday night fixtures. I've said this before. I don't mind them when it's someone if it's Friday night and you turn on and it's Man United against Liverpool, right? One of those sort of big Premier League games, whatever. Fine, that's all right to watch. When it's your own team, and especially when it's your own team, when it's Spurs away at Nottingham Forest, really on a Friday night, like is that necessary? We're talking about uprooting fans and all this type of thing, right? Is it necessary to choose a fixture where fans are having to travel halfway across the country to see it? Can't you look? Can't the decision makers think of a game like United Liverpool, where neighbouring cities, there's a lot of narrative behind it. You'll get a lot of neutrals watching it on a Friday night. Can make it a big event because surely that's what Friday night football is supposed to be. Some big kind of showpiece event that shows off the Premier League on a Friday night, box office entertainment. Spurs away at Nottingham Forest. I mean, it's not quite the same, is it? You know, it just feels like a bit of a weird one. I guess maybe policing and that sort of thing comes into it. Them not wanting to have, in terms of my point of it being United against Liverpool, maybe they don't want a day of people being on the booze, 8 p.m. kickoff. I don't know. I guess all that stuff is probably factored into this, right? But it's a yeah, it's a funny one. Should I do the players? Do I feel like I'm just sort of going around in circles a little bit tonight? Maybe it's because it's late. Did you see, just while I'm looking this up, Ren who refused to move about the fixtures. Remember when we were in the Conference League that got us kicked out of the Conference League, got them a bye when we had COVID. I don't know if you saw what happened to them in the Europa League last night. They had a they had essentially I think it was like a maybe a 98th or so minute equalizer that would have, I think, put them through to the next round, chalked off because they had a free kick from outside the box. Free kick hits the crossbar, comes back to the guy who hit the free kick initially, who then plays a through ball to somebody who scores a goal. And I wasn't aware of the rule that somebody else has to kick the ball after the free kick taker has. And so they did these mad celebrations because it was, like I say, it was a late goal, and the goal got chalked off. And it could have happened to a nicer team because they were. I found them when we played them in the first leg of I think it was Conference League we had them in. Played them in the first leg, and their fans and players were absolute throbbers. And yeah, and then with the COVID stuff, I'm not whatever. Just talking about Ren, just filling in the gap while I brought up the team list. Vicario, fantastic as ever, isn't he? Like I say, had one flap right at the very beginning of the game. Other than that, he He was impeccable. The goal line save with his feet right at the end of the game, how he kept that out, I have no idea. But what an unbelievable goalkeeper! What an unbelievable piece of business. I don't know what his contract's like, but give him another one. Give him a better one. Give him a longer one because he's amazing, right? And I remember one of the Italian journos or something. Maybe it was the guy they had on Fighting Cock that was talking about a doggy. And I can't remember if they asked him about Vicario as well. One of our football podcast had an Italian journo on talking about Vicario at the start of the season, and his prediction was Tottenham fans in no time at all will be saying Lloris who. Such was the quality of Vicario. And I remember listening to that thinking, don't know about that. Don't know about that. He might be decent, but let's wait and see. And really forget the fact that Lloris is still on the books at the club, don't you? Because Vicario has been phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. It's so mad having a keeper that can claim balls in the air now. So mad having a keeper that can actually distribute the ball. We just got so like I really don't want to do Hugo a disservice. Hugo was a great goalkeeper for us for many years. I do think the last few years of his Tottenham career, he wasn't very good anymore, and we probably felt we couldn't do any better. We had a sense of loyalty to him as well, but it's good that that time has passed, and it's good that we've got Vicario in goal because he's unbelievable, isn't he? Pedro Porro, honestly, the man, I think, week by week gets better and better and better. He's a sensational player. He's so much better than I think anyone thought he was going to be. I've spoken about him quite a few times lately, but he's just such a great player. His delivery is unbelievable. Defensively, offensively, he's fantastic. He links up with all the players around him continually. He's again one of the leaders on the pitch. You can see it. He's got a good affinity with the fans. He's always trying to get the rest of the players motivated, trying to get the fans up and ready for it. Quality player, absolutely quality. And there was some talk today. I saw on Twitter one of the Spanish journos or something saying that Real Madrid are kicking themselves, that they had identified him as a target for quite some time, decided to stick with Danny Carvajal, and now consider Pedro Porro to be one of the best players in his position in the world. And yeah, they're annoyed about that. Let's hope they don't come in for him. But I would think if they do, it's going to cost them a hell of a lot of money. But for me, he's a priceless player. We've spent so long trying to replace Rose and Walker, and now that we got Porro and Udogie, feels like we've finally got that solid kind of foundation back. We spent so long trying to replace Alderweireld and Vertonghen, and now with Van der Ven and Romero, feels like we're getting that solid base back again. So let's just keep this for a while now. Vicario in goal, those four, add to that, add some more quality to that, add some more players who have a skill set that will be beneficial to what Ange wants them to do to this system. But Pedro Porro, great start in that, and a player that, I really didn't hold a lot of regard for when we signed him at the start of this season, but here we are. Christian Romero, good today, right? No booking in a game that was pretty kind of fiery. Things are all popping off. Ange spoke about it in a pre-match press conference, saying that Christian knows the spotlight's on him after the Callum Wilson challenge. He knows that kind of people not single him out. He said something to that effect, though, that he's being watched. So we need to sort of work on that with him. And it feels like, we've maybe taken something from that, because Christian Romero was good today. Good performance, clean performance, no yellows, nothing like that. And he could have easily been drawn into some of this. He loves these type of games when the opposition are kickers. They were kicking lumps out of us. Their card tally might not show that, but they were kicking lumps out of us. But Romero managed to keep his nut down, didn't he? And get on with it. Nick in the comments says, mad that we were debating whether to make Porro a permanent signing because we would no longer play with wing backs. I know, isn't it? Like it's unbelievable. He's just a Conte player. He only fits that system. And in some ways, I kind of feel like he maybe did, but he has just worked hard to understand what Ange wants him to do. And he's just a smart player and a very talented player at that. So, you know, I think those things, they've all sort of come together, haven't they, at the right time. Ben Davies, again, I thought another fine performance from Ben Davies tonight. I'm going to say it. Like, I think he was, I am going to say it. I'm going to say it. And you can't stop me. Good performance again. He's been an ample deputy to Mickey van der Ven. Yes, he doesn't have all the high quality attributes of Mickey van der Ven, but he's still a very, very solid player. As I said in the preview pod, which you can find on Patreon, patreon.com/RTRpod. On the preview pod, I was saying Ben Davies is the sort of player, right, that Spurs could sell to somebody like Crystal Palace. And then in a year or so's time, when Man United, somebody like that, has an injury crisis, they just think, let's get Ben Davies in. Because I think he's a steady Eddie, right? I think he's a constant 7 out of 10 footballer. Somebody was saying on Twitter that Ben Davies only has worldies or stinkers. I don't think I've ever seen Ben Davies have a stinker. I really don't. You might be able to single out the odd mishap he's had in the game, but every single player makes an error here and there. When we're talking about stinkers, we're talking about like an appalling game where somebody's been terrible. I don't think you could say that of Ben Davies. I really don't. Honestly, I really don't. So another good performance today. Destiny Udogie. Shame he got a yellow card. Shame he's going to be out of the next game. Not ideal, is it? Not ideal at all. But otherwise, a good performance, good strong performance from him. Not his best, but I don't think Spurs at all were at their best. So we just never really got a handle on it. And I think destiny often comes to the fore when we've really got a grip on the game, and he is then on top of our grip, marauding. He's marauding into the opposition half, getting himself in the box. And it felt like today he was mostly kind of pegged back. He was mostly fighting battles in midfield, trying to stop Forest from breaking, capitalizing on their possession. And he did that well, you know. We've kept a clean sheet. So I think we can say that all of the defence have done quite well. It probably is worth making the point that Forest were playing without a single recognised striker. So, you know, Pape Matar, good performance today. Silly yellow card. It was a yellow card. He just pulled Morgan Gibbs-White, I think it was, down by his shirt. But this is what happens sometimes. Happy having Sarr back. Much of what I was saying last week, I love his sort of his, you know, his rangy movement. You know, that he's afforded with those sort of like long legs of his. He sort of glides around the pitch. It's lovely, and he's all over the place. He's proper box to box, isn't he? You know, he's always starting attacks. He's always the one that's getting involved, breaking up opposition attacks, then starting ours. He really adds something to this team. He really keeps us ticking over. Lovely footballer. Yves Bissouma, a little bit irritating today. Very irritating to get the red cards. I think the point that Steph was making earlier is apt. I think that's probably on point. Yeah, annoying, isn't it? I wonder if that's one that Ange will be looking at upgrading or something. I think Yves Bissouma, first half of this season was up there with Maddison as our best player in the early parts of the season. So let's not forget that. Let's not forget the injury crisis. Let's not forget how well Bissouma linked up with Maddison as well. Those two had a really, really nice partnership going. The team's been a bit all over the place, right? Everything's been a bit all over the place. There's a lot of games going on. There's a lot of injuries. There's a lot of suspensions, all this type of thing. We haven't had a settled squad for a while. So I think we can forgive Bissouma being a little bit annoying through this period because he's such a good player. And I think we'll see that a lot more in the second half of the season. Once we've got more of the top lads back, and once everyone's back from international duty, suspensions are hopefully done, injuries are done. When the proper team is back, I think we can see Bissouma start to shine again. So let's not turn our backs on him now. I think Mickey Bobbin says we're absolutely getting a midfielder in this window now. You'd imagine so. There seems to be a lot of talk as well that Højbjerg is just desperate to be out, and I think the fact that we brought Skip on ahead of Højbjerg probably says that Ange or the club just aren't really that Højbjerg's constantly going on about wanting to leave. Right, it seems to be leaked to the press every other week that Højbjerg wants out. So if that's kind of what the energy the players putting out there, then I doubt that the club are really going to want to sort of tolerate that. Brennan Johnson, he had no time at all, did he? Very, shame for the lads. Horrible injury, lots of blood. Head injuries are often very bloody, aren't they? Bloody. So is what it is. Not a happy homecoming for him. Son Heung-min. I thought a lovely performance from him today. I thought he was really continually pressuring Forest. He seemed to be one of our only sparks in attack. I'm not going to leave out Kulusevski, but I'm going to talk about him in a bit. But Sonny was really trying to make things happen. He has sort of snapped into this mode, hasn't he, now, where I think he's conscious of the fact that he's going off to the Asia Cup and I think he's always very conscious about repaying Tottenham and doing his best for Tottenham. It's those sort of qualities that have made him a club captain. And I feel like the past couple of games in particular, since it was announced that he's going to the Asia Cup and going for the friendly before the Asia Cup, which is a bit annoying. Sorry to say, I do think it's a bit annoying, but it's what it is. He's just sort of really doubled down the effort, the intensity. And I think today in particular, he was going for it. He was really running at them. His step over is so funny, man. He's done the step over for years. It's almost like a bit of a trademark for him, isn't it? But it feels like he's getting better at doing it, better at executing it. He's very tricky. He's very tricky on the wing as well. I know we sort of settled on the idea of him playing as the lone striker, as the outlet up top. But now actually seeing him the past couple of games playing out on the wing, I do like him there. I think, if I'm being brutally honest, if we had, say, a big wedge of money to spend, I would still sooner spend the money, a big wedge of it, on having like a left wing sort of forward and sticking Sonny up top still, because I like him. I like him as the goal scorer. I like him as the outlet. But he does a great job here as well. We know that. We know that because and last week as well. By the way, I wanted to say somebody in the comments. Sorry, I've forgotten your name. In the comments, you said that Sonny had now become our second highest. Our top assist maker. Top assister, let's say that, in the Premier League era. And I fact checked it on the pod, and I think I found Stats Bunker that said he only had 60 something. No, you were correct, commenter. Son Heung-min now holds the record for the most assists at Tottenham Hotspur in the Premier League era. I don't know if it's of all time, but at least in Premier League games, Son Heung-min has the most assists to Tottenham, and that's a massive achievement, right? That's huge. He's one of the club's top scorers of all time as well. It is funny, I've made this point before, but I don't think him or Kane have complained playing alongside one another. They've been a perfect foil for one another. They've made one another better, I think. Um, but Sonny's how good Sonny's Tottenham career has been overshadowed because Kane's was freakishly good, and that's not to take anything away from Sonny at all. But Harry Kane is a freakish footballer. Heung-min Son is an exceptional footballer and a different type of footballer to Harry Kane as well. Um, so that's all I mean when I say that it's been somewhat overshadowed. Harry Kane's in this time become the club's record goal scorer. And that's the only difference. But Sonny, now that he is, let's be honest, he is our best player. He's the club's best player. He's our sort of our cover star, if you like. You suddenly do take a sort of step back and think, yeah, he's actually unbelievable, isn't he? He's a real wavy baller. That's it. I'm not allowed to say whiffy anymore. I know I just said it. I've been told off for saying that word too much. So he's good. 4x Gold says Son has always looked better as a supporting player, be that on the wing or playing off the centre forwards. He's not a natural number 9. Yeah, I mean, I don't. I mean, it depends when you say natural number 9. But I don't think that this forward role is a natural number 9, if you like, this sort of Ange Postecoglou system. And I think Sonny works well in this system as the outlet, as the player up top. So that's kind of my my point on this. Idris Jaffrey says Son's mentality, you can't buy that in the market, priceless. 100% agree. Like he's a good guy. He loves Tottenham. And he just, he works his ass off, doesn't he? He really does work his ass off. Dejan Kulusevski, Decky, man, this boy is getting back to his very best. He's been threatening to for a while. So in that first half, we signed him in January, didn't we? And in that first half season, he was unbelievable flying in that first sort of Conte resurgence when we actually looked all right under Conte for 5 minutes. And Decky was like pivotal to that. And then come his second season, he had all those weird things where Conte kept dropping him, not starting him, subbing him. And then he got that fairly lengthy injury layoff. And ever since that point, it's felt like he's been trying to clamber back to his best. And I would say these past few games, because what we've had a lot this season, I think he's been pretty good all season. But what a lot of his season has been working hard. We've often heard, God, Kulusevski's such a hard worker. And that's not to take away from that, because I think for a player that is as young as he is, to shoulder the responsibility that he has through injuries, through fatigue on the pitch, through players being subbed off, whatever. He's always stepped up and he's always given it his all on the pitch for Spurs. What we are now starting to see, though, is he's still got those qualities, those hard-working qualities. What he's adding back onto this now is that technical ability that we saw at the start, that I was moaning about, not moaning about, but I was just saying at the start of the season, it's a shame that he's not shooting as much or he's not whipping in as many balls as we know he can. It feels like we're missing those sort of skills that he possesses a bit, but it's great that he's working so hard. But now he's working hard and he's just, I mean, that cross for Richarlison was absolutely disgusting. It was phenomenal. And his goal as well, taking on the defender, skinning the defender, and then just slapping it past the goalkeeper was lovely. It was lovely to see him have that, I guess, tenacity back again to do that type of thing. Because at some points, like I'm talking about at the start of the season, you'd see him get into that position and then maybe turn back or maybe release it out to the wing, see if anyone's on the overlap, see if Porro's there or whatever. Now he's thinking, do you know what, let's go for it. let's smack it past the keeper. And he's done that, and it's brilliant. And he is in such good form. He's he is an unbelievable footballer, I think. I really do think he is an unbelievable player. And it's funny because we've got all these shiny new things now that you sometimes forget. Kulusevski's a relatively new player as well at Tottenham, and he's a young player. There's plenty more to come from this lad, hopefully, touch wood. Um, but the signs are very, very positive at the moment, as they were previously. Um, but it's seriously promising. Mickey Bobbins says Kulu is by far our best player of the season. I still think Porro's up there, mate. I know he just said that in the follow up message saying Porro and Sonny second. Porro and Decky is close to me. It's close between the two of them. Not gonna lie. I wouldn't really want to pick between them at the moment. That's kind of where my head's at with that one. But I mean, an unbelievable player. What's he worth in today's market now? If somebody wants to buy Dejan Kulusevski off of you, you could see somebody like Manchester City. If they lost, Bernardo Silva, somebody like that, Pep thinking, yeah, let's have Kulusevski. He feels like the sort of player that would do well at Manchester City, right? He feels sort of similar to the type of player that Pep Guardiola's tried to make Jack Grealish. But what are they having to fork out for him now? Because I'd feel pissed off if we and then people might laugh if there is an opposition fan watching this. I often get opposition fans come in and kind of, you know, have a dig. I'd be pissed off if we sold Kulusevski for less than 100 mil. Straight up, honestly, because he's young and he's unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. As- just an astonishingly good player. Steph Hanley says that invert the wing. I'm sure we all know who that is on Twitter. Claims that Decky is Pep's favourite player. Doesn't surprise me. Like, it really doesn't surprise me at all. He's what a player. I really love him. I really do like him. He's just so mature as well. I do want to make that point again for his age. He's so mature. He did the baby celebration as well. So I'm assuming, yeah, congratulations are in order too. So well done, Decky. And well done to your partner. It feels weird, doesn't it, saying well done to somebody? Like, good shagging, nice one. Fucking base, isn't it? Richarlison, lovely header today, lovely goal. Well done, lads. Keep the form up. I think he pressed all right today. I still think we can have a better player in that position. I'm sorry to say. I do. But well done to him. It's lovely to see him scoring goals. It wasn't an easy header at all. Kulusevski, like, it was a beautiful cross, but Richarlison still had to do his work there and put it away, beautifully. So good luck to the lads. Nice one. Well done. Oliver Skip, yeah, all right. As I've been told, I'm not allowed to do any Oliver Skip propaganda today. I won't. I do maintain that he's a good squad player. I don't want to see him starting games. I do maintain that I'd rather see him coming onto the pitch than Pierre Mahoybier, but wasn't a great performance today, so I'll take the L on that one. I mean, the rest of our subs, really, what am I going to say? Pierre Mahoybier, he wasn't on for long at all, was he? But he seemed to be okay today. Physical, I think he had about 10 minutes today. Physical game. I think he actually, being fair to him, I think when he came on, we actually managed to kind of start to feel like, the sort of the lack of grip that I was bemoaning at the start. It felt like we actually started to get more of a handle on the game. The game was a bit less frantic when he came on. I think maybe these ugly, mucky games are maybe where Højbjerg, comes in handy. But it's not in games where we actually want to try and play football, right? When it's just a war of attrition, that's where he can come on, and with his sort of chaotic running about, sticking a boot in, does all right, doesn't he? But But yeah, fair enough. Emerson, honestly, he was on for minutes, wasn't he? So what's the point? And Veliz, I didn't even realise that Veliz came on. So, that's what I have to say about it. But yeah, another 3 points. Another 3 points for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Up to fifth in the table for now. I think we were in fifth anyway, weren't we? Were we? I think we were. Up to fifth. We were in fifth, but still in touching distance at the top. And it's quite nice, again, I'll say again, to not just be at the top of the table. Because I know what the temptation is. And I'm doing it myself, thinking, God, we almost won that Wolves game. We almost won that Villa game. 6 points now. We'd be, top of the table right now. But we're not. We didn't win those games. We're not top of the table, but we're still in touching distance. We're still in touching distance, and that's just quite nice. Bit less pressure, right? Bit less pressure. Every time Manchester City win the league, they tend to do it when somebody else is starting to run away with it, and then they just go on a mad run at the end of the season, keep winning, and get it over the line. I'm not saying that's definitely what Tottenham are going to do, but there's a chance that Tottenham could do it, and that's the important thing. As the old, bit in Dumb and Dumber says, "You're telling me there's a chance." That's what we got to go for. That's what we got to hold on to, and see where it gets us. Because Ange himself says he's not aiming for fifth place. What does that mean he's aiming for? I would imagine a manager like Ange Postecoglou is saying, let's win the fucking league. So, maybe we can do it. I don't know. I don't think it's a conversation we need to be having right now. The conversation we need to be having is continuing to rejoice game by game in Tottenham taking home 3 points against the odds with an injury-ravaged squad, with many suspensions and what have you, players, like we say, on international duty and all of the like. The fact we still managed to keep getting it across the line, getting the points, 2 wins consecutively now after that horrible form. It's good. It shows you that the psychology's on point. They didn't let their heads drop. They still carried on fighting, even throughout that kind of horrible period. There was still all the Instagram posts, the whatever, of players saying, just believe in us. We're getting there. We will get there. We all believe in this. You have to believe in us. And I think we do. I didn't really hear any serious moaning from anybody during staring down the barrel of however many straight defeats it was until we got the last minute equaliser away at Manchester City. I think everybody is bought into this. And the fact that a player like Destiny Udogie has signed up to us for 2030, hopefully a new contract for Sarr coming soon. These are all very positive signs. Phil was saying earlier on the pod that we do also on Patreon that it feels like the ice is thawing a bit and we're starting to see the green shoots come through it. And that's true. That's exactly where we're at. It's good to be back in that place again. It's good to be back to enjoy. Now I'm thinking, Christ, it's a week and a day now. Do we get to watch us play football again? Do we get to see Ange ball again? It's not fair. I want to see it now. I want a game this weekend now. Let's have it. Let's see us play again. But we don't get to enjoy it. Hopefully we'll get to see Arsenal. Who do Arsenal have this weekend? What are the Premier League fixtures this weekend? Let's have a look. Any juicy games? Arsenal got Brighton. And they usually lose to them, actually. Chelsea, Sheffield United, City Palace, Liverpool, Man U. Right, so that's the only decent one on a Sunday. Rest of it's all gubbins, in it. So, whatever. Maybe I'll go and watch Willy Wonka in the cinema. Let's do that. Anyway, thank you everybody for listening. Thank you for watching. If you are watching, like and subscribe, leave comments, share the pod, rate the pod, all that type of stuff. Do have a Patreon, patreon.com/RTR pod. If you're not sick of the sound of my voice, and you can listen to that. I haven't given it a shout out for a while, but also do a film pod. Bring Your Own Blockbuster, BYOB, with Ben Haynes. You'll all know Ben Haynes. Tottenham Hotspur's Ben Haynes. where we pick out, all of our favorite sort of old films and go over them. We also talk about films in the cinema right now. We've been doing all of our Christmas favorites over the past few weeks. We've done Die Hard, done Love Actually, which really did split opinion. Latest one is Elf, and then we're going to do sort of our top films of the year and all of our favorite Christmas films as well over this sort of period. So check it out, BYOB, Bring Your Own Blockbuster podcast, wherever you get your pods. But anyway, come on, you Spurs, back to Tottenham. Let's have it. Another 3 points. Hopefully, Arsenal lose to Brighton again this weekend. We can carry on breathing down their neck. But that's it. Just enjoy the weekend now. It's out of the way. 3 points. Come on, you Spurs.